Post details an elderly, egotistical president shielded from reality by a slavish coterie of loyalists. Never said that word before. So ailing, mendacious, egotistical, and that's from media outlets that spent 4 years smooching Biden's wrinkly ass. They were so far up his butt, I'm surprised they didn't diagnose the cancer.
Greg Gutfeld unleashed a full-blown comedic explosion aimed straight at former President Joe Biden, turning every stumble, slip, and scrambled sentence from his time in office into blazing entertainment. He highlighted the missed exits, the wandering handshakes, and the puzzling moments that left everyone wondering what was happening. But Greg transformed them into a wild, fiery performance that lit up the room. No cue cards, no teleprompters, and absolutely no media shield could hide Biden from the intense glare of Gutfeld's roasting spotlight. If anyone believed late-night comedy had softened, this roast shattered that idea. Gutfeld just revived the entire stage with one of the boldest, sharpest, and most outrageous Biden takedowns ever seen.
President Biden boasting about how you should be thanking him this Thanksgiving.
Well, this past week, as Americans gathered around their own kitchen tables for Thanksgiving dinner, that was our goal. To give them a little more breathing room, from turkey to air travel to tank of gas.
Greg Gutfeld stormed onto the scene with comedy so sharp it sliced through the room like a perfectly aimed blade of pure sarcasm. Instead of throwing punches, he delivered jokes that cut cleaner than anything you'd expect, all while keeping his target squarely in sight, Joe Biden, standing there with a confused smile and drifting gaze, almost like a living teleprompter glitch caught in the spotlight. Greg didn't warm up or ease into anything. He charged forward with fearless precision, describing Biden not as a guiding leader, but as a heavily medicated mascot representing policies that even his own team struggles to explain. Each punchline landed with such accuracy and force that the crowd could hardly believe how ruthless and perfectly timed his comedic strikes were.
It's a train wreck of a fact check. Yes, Reuters invites hilarity by fact-checking obvious parody, telling its readers no such luck. Biden doesn't really chase the ice cream truck. So it's no secret the big guy enjoys his ice cream. That's just one of the reasons why Dr. Jill calls him Mr. Softy.
If you're enjoying this takedown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Greg joked that the Biden presidency isn't a real government at all. It feels more like one extremely long senior moment that somehow affects the entire planet. He compared Biden to that great uncle who gets lost in his own house, yet insists he's perfectly capable of driving everyone across the country, creating chaos while believing he's totally in control. It's not that Joe is unaware of what's happening, it's that he confidently thinks he knows what's happening, which makes every situation even more unpredictable and confusing. Gutfeld laughed at how Biden can talk about fixing the economy while wearing the same expression as someone searching the room for a misplaced pair of dentures, turning every speech into a bewildering adventure of mixed signals and misplaced certainty.
Guy's big ad buy comes one day before Robert Hur will testify about his report claiming that Joe is an elderly man with a poor memory. Biden will be taking his angry man shtick on tour and hit 3 swing states this week. Over the weekend, he gave us a preview of what senile moments you can expect.
Greg had an absolute field day tearing into Biden's speeches, turning every moment into hilarious chaos that the audience couldn't look away from. He joked that listening to Joe talk is like watching someone try to build IKEA furniture without the manual, without glasses, and without even the slightest idea of what the finished piece is supposed to look like. Biden often starts strong with a serious point about inflation, but before anyone can settle in, he drifts into a completely random story about a cornfield in Delaware that absolutely no one asked for. Sure, the words exist, but they come out twisted together like a pile of Christmas lights tossed into a blender, leaving everyone confused and entertained at the same time. Half the time, it sounds like someone hit shuffle on a playlist filled with political slogans and diner stories from the 70s, creating a speech that feels more like a puzzle than a plan.
As we speak, he's actually lobbying Baskins and Robbins to make a flavor based on little girl shampoo. Although, when Joe says sprinkles, it means call the urologist. Joe raided Mar-a-Lago with the feds. Now he gets a taste of his own meds. That's good. Yeah. Stop it. You're biting into the time. The White House admits that more classified documents were found, this time at one of Biden's homes in Delaware and in his garage. But it's cool, man, because that garage was totally locked.
And those pauses, those unforgettable, suspense-filled Biden pauses, Greg couldn't help but tear into them with pure comedic energy. He said watching Biden stop mid-sentence is like watching a real-life buffering symbol, leaving everyone staring and wondering what might happen next. You never know if he's about to finish the thought, drift off into a nap, or suddenly reboot like a government robot trying to load up dated software. Sometimes he leans in and whispers softly, as if he's seconds away from revealing top-secret information hidden deep underground. And other times, he bursts out with random words like he's been taken over by the spirit of a wandering thesaurus. Every moment is filled with wild suspense, turning even the simplest sentence into a dramatic cliffhanger that leaves people holding their breath and laughing at the same time.
Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress that I can support this right, and I promise you, we take back Congress, we will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land.
Biden could show America his razor-sharp mind by debating Donald Trump, but so far, he refuses to commit.
Mr. President, will you commit to a debate with former President Trump? It depends on his behavior.
Greg went all out when describing Biden's leadership style, painting it in a way that had the entire crowd buzzing with laughter and disbelief. He joked that choosing Biden as president was like putting a screensaver in the Oval Office. Something is clearly moving, but nothing useful is actually happening. Greg described Biden as the commander-in-chief of confusion, where the biggest danger isn't a foreign threat, but whether he remembers which room he walked into in the first place. He compared Biden's energy to someone who wanders into the kitchen and instantly forgets why they're there, except now that wandering confusion follows him as he signs executive orders in the same dazed state. Greg cracked up at how, under Biden's watch, you practically need a loan just to buy eggs and financial counseling to afford a tank of gas. And whenever Biden insists the economy is strong, Greg said it feels like watching a magician swear the rabbit is still in the hat, even though everyone clearly sees it hopping away behind him. Greg also poked fun at Biden's love for empathy, joking that Joe seems to believe that nodding dramatically and squinting very earnestly somehow counts as solving real problems.
True, the cold, sweet treat is perfect for cooling down after a long, hot, sweaty day of aimlessly drifting around the White House like a tumbleweed. But now Reuters, which claims to be a news outlet, is getting mocked online for actually fact-checking a clearly edited video of Biden getting distracted by an ice cream truck and walking out of frame.
Greg didn't slow down for a second. He joked that Biden's answer to rising crime, border problems, and failing schools is to hold a town hall where he mumbles something poetic-sounding, then wanders off stage like a dad who got lost at a music festival and can't find the parking lot. He compared Biden's leadership to putting a lava lamp in charge of the power grid. It glows, it wiggles, it looks interesting, but it doesn't power anything and eventually just melts into a mess that nobody knows how to clean up. Then Greg revisited the moments everyone remembers. Biden shaking hands with people who weren't there, talking to no one in particular, and freezing mid-sentence, like someone pressed pause on a remote only they can see. Greg said we're dangerously close to witnessing a press conference where Biden mistakes a houseplant for a visiting diplomat, and the staff pretends nothing is wrong. He joked that this isn't governing. It feels like a taxpayer-funded version of Weekend at Bernie's, except with podiums and briefing notes. And the only thing actually being built back better, Greg laughed, is the PR team's crisis responses every single time Joe goes off script, which happens literally every time he opens his mouth.
She's going to win.
Joe Biden was the ultimate catfish.
Yeah.
We were all online being told, oh, this is a congenial centrist. Yeah, swipe right. I don't know how to do these dating apps.
Yeah.
But anyway, then you find out it's not him at all, but some guy in a bathrobe smoking meth.
Yeah.
God, how many times has that happened to me, huh?
When Greg turned to foreign policy, he didn't hold back at all. He roasted Biden as the kind of person who tries to calm an angry bear by telling it a bedtime story, completely missing the danger right in front of him. Greg said that whether Biden is dealing with aggressive nations or trying to discuss serious treaties, he has the presence of a sleepy substitute teacher who misplaced the lesson plan and hopes everyone will quietly nap instead. He joked that world leaders don't fear Biden. They observe him like a science experiment, waiting for the exact moment when someone else quietly steps in while he drifts off. Then Greg tore into the border crisis, calling it the greatest disappearing act in politics. Not because the issue went away, but because Biden keeps acting like it's invisible even as it unfolds live on television for everyone to see. Greg laughed that under Biden, security has become more of a mood than an actual policy, leaving the borders wide open while the consequences pile up. Meanwhile, Greg joked, Biden is somewhere sipping oatmeal through a straw as a staffer tries to convince the world that everything is perfectly fine. And as Americans deal with skyrocketing bills,
Alzer and Chancellor Farabee, thank you for joining us as well. And for families across the country, the school year.
That's hilarious. I would say the footage does seem manipulated. There's no way Joe can move that fast. But give him a break, he's got oil cancer.
Then Greg focused on Biden's never-ending image makeovers, joking that trying to upgrade Joe's public persona is like attempting to polish fog. You can try all day, but nothing clear ever comes out of it. Every once in a while, the team rolls Biden out wearing those famous aviator sunglasses, as if cool shades alone can erase the confusion, the stumbles, and all the questionable decisions people keep noticing. Greg joked that if sunglasses and a slightly awkward jog down a hallway could truly fix America, Biden would already be celebrated as a modern-day founding father. Greg also ripped into the student loan situation, calling Biden's plan a show filled with dramatic gestures, but very little reality behind it. One day Biden is praised by borrowers as a hero, and the next day he gets shut down by courts and basic economics, acting like money will magically appear out of thin air. Greg laughed that Biden's approach to managing the economy feels like playing Monopoly after mortgaging every property, forgetting what the rules mean, and hoping no one notices the board is upside down. Greg pointed out that spending 40 years in politics doesn't mean you're qualified. It might just mean you've been lingering in the building while others actually did the work.
The Justice Department's appointing a special counsel to review whether Biden mishandled classified info. So how is the White House dealing with this? Come on, just got to trust the process.
This is an ongoing process under the review of the Department of Justice. We're going to respect the process, and we're just going to allow the process to continue. Let the process continue. It's an ongoing process. I am genuinely saying to you, there is an ongoing process. This is all part of the Justice Department process as part of that process. And I said because there was a process of justice throughout this process, we just laid out the process that was taken, and that is the process.
Yeah.
Then Greg moved on to Biden's big talk about unity, or at least the version of unity that only sounds good until you hear the rest of the sentence. He pointed out how Biden constantly calls himself a unifier, yet somehow manages to label half the country as extremists in the very same breath, creating the opposite of harmony. Greg joked that it's like inviting someone to dinner and immediately criticizing their outfit, their kids, and even their car before they've had a chance to sit down. Greg laughed that the only thing Biden has actually succeeded in uniting is the entire country's desire to mute political ads forever, no matter which side they come from. As he wrapped up this part of the roast, Greg pointed out that Biden might be the first president who can doze off in a meeting and still be praised for appearing calm and steady. He said America is living in a time where Biden simply blinking in the correct direction is celebrated as a major accomplishment. And that's not leadership, that's national denial. Greg argued that the country didn't elect a president. It ended up with something that feels more like a voicemail left by someone who forgot they were already recording, leaving everyone wondering what exactly they're supposed to do next.
But what if the Biden cover-up was by design, orchestrated to protect not the president, but to enable a radical agenda? Anyone could tell Joe was feeble. But what if Biden's decline wasn't caused by disability, but by debility, meaning he was purposely kept exhausted, confused, and miserable, like an overnight shift worker or a Fox and Friends viewer?
Greg couldn't stop cracking up as he roasted Biden's attempts to sound like a blue-collar, everyday guy, especially when Joe keeps getting spotted at billionaire fundraisers or browsing fancy artisan candles in Delaware like he's shopping for a luxury gift basket. Greg joked that Biden, talking about the working class, is like a reality TV host claiming they understand homelessness because they once stayed in a budget motel. It's all performance, all show, and absolutely no real connection to the people he says he relates to. Greg also aimed straight at Biden's strange social media videos, those stiff, overly careful clips where Joe holds ice cream or squints into the camera as if he's trying to remember the year, the location, and maybe even his own schedule. Greg said the videos look less like leadership messages and more like cheerful ads for retirement homes, complete with soft lighting and gentle music vibes. He joked that if Biden ever joined TikTok, his challenge would be called Find the Exit, and the crowd exploded with laughter. Greg grinned, knowing he had hit the sweet spot. This wasn't just comedy, it was pure emotional release. America wasn't laughing at its president as much as it was laughing through the confusion, the exhaustion, and the chaos that has defined so much of the era. And somewhere backstage, Greg imagined Biden still asking someone where he parked Air Force One,